Welcome, champions, to the next overview and tier list ranking, featuring the newest champion. This is where we'll break down their mechanics and place them in my overall tier list for every champion in the game. So let's talk about Imoen, the neutral good human rogue/wizard. Her release lines up with the start of Season 2, and for good reason. She's a part of the Heroes of Baldur's Gate, the affiliation getting a bit of a revamp, and her kit is designed to fit right in with the theme, Favored Foes. Most of you know, I'm not sold on this mechanic, and I think it still needs work. Will her kit be enough to change my outlook on the mechanic? Let's find out. This light-hearted thief likes to keep the spirits of those around her up with her first formation ability, Optimism, increasing the damage of those adjacent to her. Does that mean pairing her with Warduke makes it Pessimism? It's an average buff that is further increased by another formation ability she has, Perseverance, where anytime a favored foe either appears or dies, it gains a stack. These stack to 50 and stack multiplicatively, and then increase Optimism also multiplicatively. This has the potential to make Optimism actually go even beyond just a good buff and into the heights of an amazing buff. However, she loses all stacks when moving to a new area. Now, there are a few things that hold this back though, but we'll get to those in a second. First, let's finish her kit, because on top of being a support, she is also a healer, with Stone Skin, where before every 8th attack, as well as the first time you enter a new area, she casts Stone Skin on the front column, granting them temporary hit points. This effect is increased additively for each favored foe that is alive. To count, it does not have to be her favored foe, just the favored foe of someone slotted in the formation. How does she get a favored foe, you might ask? Through her specialization choice. It is a very simple choice between specific arrow types that will make beasts, dragons, monstrosities, or aberrations her favored foe, and cause her to deal bud damage to them with her primary attack. Lastly, she gains a similar mechanic to Viconia and Minsk, in that she can attempt to force spawn her chosen favored foe with Polymorph. Before every 3rd attack, she will polymorph a random, non-boss, non-static enemy into a monster of the same type as her favored foe, but at 10% of its original health. This cannot happen to a target that has already been polyed though, which is too bad because her primary attack attacks a random enemy, and if she attacks that same enemy, it will not count as a whole new spawn for Perseverance to stack up. As Perseverance and Polymorph are based on her attack, finding ways to make her attack faster does actually help her out quite a bit. And I'm kind of rehashing myself at this point, but this idea is a solid step in the right direction of making favored foes viable, but it's still severely held back by not being able to spawn or summon any form of favored foe in boss areas, arguably the most important time to do so. The other problem here with Imoen is that in order for her Optimism to fully come online with Perseverance, she requires 50 stacks. And you're almost never going to get that unless you linger in an area before moving on, mirroring a bit of my sentiment from my last video. This really encourages spiking your bud damage before moving on and utilizing that bud to push. A few problems with this. First, it's just a clunky way to play and to have to rely on. And second, she's in seat 11. Sure, Optimism is pretty baller once you farm it up, but it does not hold a candle to Nova paired with Valentine and doesn't quite catch up with Averin, who share her seat. So if her entire point is to hang back and bud spike, she's outperformed in her own seat for that. Now if she was in basically any other seat, this wouldn't be the case. But alas. Her ultimate has her jump into the heat of battle, attacking 5 enemies with her short sword and her lockpicks, prioritizing enemies with hit-based health, dishing out 5 hits per attack. But if the target is not hit-based, she will deal normal ultimate damage. The event she's tied to is Wintershield, with which she actually is currently sharing with 2 of her affiliation members, Viconia and Baloth. As always, you should do your best to fully epic out all of them, but in this case especially Baloth, as he will be benched after this year, and he is, in my opinion, if you're looking for someone to focus on, the one to do it with. Followed by Imoen, then Viconia. Unless you are for some reason deciding to dedicate yourself to favored foes, Viconia and Imoen are just in too competitive of seats without offering enough in turn to be used outside of their favored foeing niche. But don't forget, Season 2 is also up and running in tandem with Wintershield and will last for 70 days. And both Imoen and Viconia will likely be vital with the daily, seasonal, and milestone quests. Her achievement is actually incredibly simple. All you have to do is kill 10,000 favored foes, with Imoen slotted in your formation. This doesn't require anyone other than Imoen for favored foes, since it's as simple for a newcomer to choose her beast specialization and farm the very first area in the Cursed Farmer and watch those kills rack up. Her variants for her adventure during the event are all pretty basic. The first being the easiest, as is tradition, where only champions adjacent to her, but also including herself, will deal damage. Simply slot your DPS adjacent to her, though do know she cannot be moved or removed. Her second is also very simple. While she cannot be moved or removed again, each wave will spawn 1 to 2 beasts. So it's primed for her to take her beast specialization and just burn them down. Her third is the only one that might give newcomers trouble. Only champions with an intelligence of 12 or higher and/or heroes of Baldur's Gate can be used. You still have a decent amount of usable core champions, and 2 champions from her affiliation can be unlocked during this very event. Monstrosities will spawn like beasts before, 1 to 2 per wave. So take her monstrosity specialization, because she will also attack faster for every champion she is adjacent to. So slot her right here and watch her blast away and deal that bud damage to take them down. And don't forget, the core champion Minsk in Seat 7 from her affiliation can also make monstrosities his favored foe, and will be able to potentially make more spawn on top of Imoen's Polymorph to more quickly scale up her perseverance. Her availability is good, being viable for all 4 patrons with a feat, and every day 1 Trials of Mount Tiamat restriction. There is something to be said about the fact she is the first healer in Seat 11, and a temporary hit point based one at that. And she's good, but she's clunky. Honestly, I'm torn between a B+ and an A-, because at the end of the day, she really does have some good output, but it requires some jank and favor foeage. And she's instantly outshined in her own seat anyway. I don't usually hold that against the actual rank of a champion though. Because of the favored foe crutch, I'm going to land her in a B+. If we one day get my champion that actually marks enemies and allows them to count that enemy as a favored foe for favored foe mechanics, my tune shall change. Until then, I'm glad you stopped by and chose to spend your time here. Make that like, sub, and bell your favorite foe and slap them. Leave a comment on what you think of Imoen and the heroes of Baldur's Gate, and stay tuned cause I'm always working on the next one. Have a Merry Christmas, and have a hell of a time out there, champion.